All right, welcome to another episode of the Brothers of Metal. I have another review on the docket today. We are going to be discussing the new Arena album titled The Theory of Molecular Inheritance.
Yep.
Based off the title, you know it's a progressive metal or progressive rock album.
Right.
This album kind of didn't get a lot of publicity. It was like they were all of a sudden doing a tour.
Yeah.
But they didn't have it felt like they didn't have an official release date. It wasn't on iTunes. It was hard to buy it if you're in the States. But anyway, it finally came to iTunes.
Yeah, it wasn't like the traditional kind of album drop that we're used to seeing nowadays, where you get, half the album in singles before the record even drops.
Yeah.
You got one single, one lyric video.
Yeah.
I think these guys are real connected to their email list. So if you get plugged into their website, I'm pretty sure it was, emailed out, and I know they did pre-orders and you can buy directly from them, and that seems to be the way to go.
Yeah.
Something else to say about that later, but yeah.
So see, we were excited about it for quite a while. I'm not a huge Arena fan per se. I didn't know much about them. I listened to their last album, I think is Double Vision, if I'm not mistaken, because their previous vocalist was on the latest Ayreon album, Transitus, Paul Manzi. And so, of course, I had to check him out because I wasn't familiar with him. And so I checked that album out. I liked it, but wasn't a huge fan of their previous singer, and I was really into Threshold at the time and a big fan of Damian Wilson. And then once they announced that he was the new singer, I was like, oh, perfect. He seemed like the dream fit for this band, and I was happy for him because once he was let go of Threshold, he just needed another progressive band. I know he has a lot of solo stuff he does, but this was just a ideal fit for him, and I'm a huge fan of his, and this really showcases the full gamut of what this guy can do. He's really a world-class singer, super unique voice.
Yeah.
And so so this is their 10th studio album. I think the lineup, other than the singer change, is the same. Michael Pointer on drums, John Mitchell on guitars, Clive Nolan on keyboards, and Kylan Amos, is that on bass? And then, of course, Damian Wilson on vocals. So if I'm not mistaken, this is a full-on concept record. If it sure sounds like one.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of, I was trying to always try to compare bands to other bands. If you're not familiar with them, if you're a fan of Ayreon, if you're familiar with Damian Wilson, obviously he worked on a few Ayreon records. He was also on Star One. And I was a fan. If you're a fan of Rush, you're a fan of a band like Spock's Beard, and that's kind of who they remind me of, or Threshold. They're not as technical as Dream Theater. They're not super heavy, so they're kind of in the middle between rock and metal. But there's still enough of those odd time signatures and lengthy songs, deep lyrics, and so
yeah, they kind of get thrown in there with this whole, I guess they kind of refer to it as the neo-prog movement from like the early 90s, and that's kind of where Clive Nolan comes into the picture. I mean, his older bands, Pendragon, Shadowland, stuff like that. And then Mick Pointer, who was with Marillion. So, that's kind of the where they get lumped into, like you said, along with Spock's Beard.
Yeah.
I mean, even, in Enchant and, like some of these other bands.
Yeah, they remind me of Enchant a bit too.
Yeah. But I mean, you said kind of where they fall on the heavy scale. I mean, what's cool about this band is, I mean, a lot of it you wouldn't say is metal, but they can get heavy.
Yeah, they can at times.
Like real heavy.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about that a little more in some of these songs, but this is a band that's had a fair amount of lineup changes over the years. Clive and Mick have been the mainstays since the mid-90s. But singer wise,
Yeah.
let's see.
They finally,
This
I
their
think they
fifth
finally
singer?
found the perfect one. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Fifth singer in 10 albums. Yeah. I mean,
fifth
that's
singer in 10
hard.
albums.
It's hard to kind of, I would think, kind of grow your fan base if the singer keeps changing, you know?
Well, I don't know.
But
Iced Earth.
yeah, that is one band that
Also
made it
five
work.
singers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it really comes down to the music though, and just these guys continue to evolve over the years as well. They definitely have their sound, but if you go back to, check out anything from Songs from the Lion's Cage and then check out this latest record, it's quite a jump, I
Yeah.
would say. And as far as singers go, I mean, they haven't really had a singer. Well, I would say they definitely haven't had a singer of this caliber.
Yeah.
Now, what you're adding Damian Wilson into your band, you could probably argue for anybody, we haven't had a singer of this caliber,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
Damian Wilson. But
Yeah.
I mean, I was a huge fan. I got into them when Contagion was the new record,
Okay.
and also a huge fan of Pepper's Ghost. Somehow got into them after Immortal, so I wasn't familiar with Rob Soden at the time, but Contagion is one of my all-time favorite records. It's a masterstroke of progressive metal, progressive rock. It's a great concept record. And Pepper's Ghost too it's kind of a themed album. It's not like a cohesive storyline, but has just an amazing vibe. It's a really, really cool album. And when they got Paul Manzi, that's where I kind of lost touch with Arena.
Was he on 2 albums?
3.
3 albums. Okay.
Yeah. And I've gone back and listened to those records, and I just don't even find the music as strong. I think overall here, this record, I mean it's up there with their best work, and it's probably it's up there with Contagion, I think.
Okay.
It is a solid album all the way through. And so yeah, let's dive into it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were some of your highlights? What were some of your favorite songs on this one?
Well, I love the way the album is kind of bookended. I mean, it's a perfect introduction. It feels like a concept record. It's very I don't know, really brings you into a story. It feels like kind of like an Ayreon album. I mean, I can't help but compare it to The Theory of Everything. It's kind of what it reminds me of, even though it's not so narrative driven like an Ayreon album where it's just so clearly, story driven. But I can't honestly say I know what the story is about, but it's interesting. I love the chorus on track 2, The Equation. Yeah. And then there's a song like Pure of Heart, which really reminded me of, say, 90s Rush, or even maybe something directly off of Clockwork album, Clockwork Angels. Yeah. Which is the latest Rush record, it reminded me of that record quite a bit. Another concept record.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do remind me quite a bit of Rush. At least kind of the later Rush, even stuff off of Snakes and Arrows. Like I said, I love the closing track, and then track 5. Go for it, John.
I think it's Heiligenstadt.
Heiligenstadt Legacy reminded me of like Queen. Honestly, Damian Wilson's voice. He has one of the. I mean, he could sing so incredibly high without going to the falsetto. Yes. And he has such a clean, pretty voice, but it's so powerful, and his control is almost unlike anything I've ever heard, because there's no aggression to his voice really at all.
Yeah, no grit or rasp necessarily, but it's just like a pure, like, melodic voice,
like an angel, really.
Yeah.
And he has such a unique tone and character to his voice. It's really he sounds nothing like this singer, but he reminds me of like a Phil Collins, where as soon as you hear the voice, it's like, oh, it's so unique. That I can't even compare him to anybody. No
Yeah.
singer even comes to mind really, other than
No.
he has Freddie Mercury like control to where you feel like he could really do anything with his voice on
Mhm.
the cleaner side anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's an unbelievable talent. He definitely deserves more recognition.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, for me, I love the whole record. You know, have to give a little spoiler alert here, but it's my favorite album of the year. And so much good stuff, and I'm so hooked, and you know, just kind of glued to the speakers for
Yeah,
the entire duration of the album, which hasn't happened in a while. And yeah, I was just completely blown away. I mean, it's it's the mix and the way it's mastered, everybody's performance. I mean,
yeah,
there's so many, you know, tasty parts from every member here. Um, and you know, like an instrument that doesn't always like call to us, like bass. Like I mean,
yeah,
it's just it's so perfectly in the mix, and you know, I it was just kind of refreshing, you know.
yeah. I mean, we don't get that enough. That's what reminded me a lot of Rush as well, is where the bass is so clear throughout the song, and you get to really appreciate it. And yeah, like you said, everyone really shines on this record, and I love the albums where everyone kind of gets their time to shine.
Yeah, so when I got to track, I found it. It's Part of You, track 10. Um,
Okay.
there's where, and it was so cool because it was almost predictable, but then like so rewarding because it delivered. So it starts off a little softer, and then Damian Wilson starts to deliver this line here. It's the second verse. He says, "What made you travel?" And I could just tell he was going up. He was going up so far, and sure enough, he does. And then just such a like a phrase, like this heavy rhythm comes in. You know, it's
Yeah.
just like da 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 da. I mean, and I noticed too. I was like, this is something that a lot of bands should like take note of. I mean, when you have, they're not a two guitar band, um, and I know John's playing on a Stratocaster. It looks like. I mean, this isn't like, you know, it's not like super detuned or anything like that, but it
Yeah.
is heavy, and it's heavy because you know he's allowing the bass player to do what the bass player needs to do, and you get both of those, you know, instruments in the mix at just the right levels,
Yeah.
and that riff is heavy. And not only that, but then he starts like gonna have that repetitive rhythm pattern, but then like in between those bits, he's like doing these like crazy pinch harmonic type things. Reminds me a bit of like Savatage.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. And so that was it. I heard that moment, that I was like, favorite album of the year. That's it. It's over.
Yeah,
Nothing's gonna
I
top
really
this.
love the drumming on this record too. I wasn't
Yeah.
familiar with Michael Pointer. I don't know if he's in any other bands. Didn't do a deep dive on him, but he's pretty incredible.
Or Mick Pointer.
Oh, is that his name?
Mick Pointer.
Mick Pointer.
Yeah, been with them from the beginning, man. He's solid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, overall, like this is for me highest possible recommendation if you're into progressive heavy music of any kind. If you've been familiar with these guys before, maybe fallen out of touch with them a little bit, now's the time to get back in. I mean, these guys are just, again, you know, we talked about this with Threshold, and you know, Evergrey falls into this this situation as well. But these guys are, you know, they're older, they're further along in their career. You know, they've got 10 or so albums under their belt.
Yeah.
They're still killing it.
Yeah.
And it's so cool.
They're still on the ascent.
I would say so. And you know, I hope, you know, Damian Wilson has man, he's been on a lot of recordings.
Yeah.
So I hope this is going to be a relationship that lasts. I really do.
Hopefully he's found a home here.
Hopefully.
And yeah, this is kind of a coming out party for him. If you weren't familiar with him before, this is the album to check out.
For sure. Sure. So yeah, highest recommendation. You think it's going to top your favorites list for the year? Or?
I think it might. I can't say it's my favorite record of the year, but it's
Sure.
certainly up there. And as someone who wasn't that familiar with Arena, I mean, this, it made a fan out of me for sure. So
nice. Yeah, like I said, I'd go back to Contagion. I think that's probably the most digestible record if you like this one.
Okay.
Then maybe Pepper's Ghost, and then Immortal, and then probably The Visitor, because that'll be a different singer.
Okay.
But yeah, and I saw some live clips from this tour. I mean, Rob had a very different voice from Damien's, but
yeah,
he can go to those lower registers and do kind of the softer stuff, and it sounded great. The band sounded great. I mean, I was watching cell phone videos and they sounded incredible.
Yeah, we could use a music video from this band, or I'd be cool if they did a live DVD or something.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, let me give a shout out to their website because it's kind of tricky.
Yeah.
That's the thing with this band. If the name is such a common word that so
true.
it's arenaband, all one word, .co.uk. arenaband.co.uk. And just to give a shout out on their merchandise shop, I was reluctant to drop the $40 or $60 or whatever it was, to buy the standard edition of the CD. But it sounds like they prefer to go direct, and good for them. They're on their own label, and why not?
Yeah.
But if you go to their web shop, I just have to give a kind of a recommendation here. They have all of their past records available, and they're pretty much £10 or whatever that equates to in dollars.
Okay.
And then shipping is like, I was really impressed. It's like £7 for one CD, and then it goes up 40 cents or whatever their equivalent is per CD after that or something.
Okay.
So for like £8, I got 3
so
CDs
buy 4 CDs and then.
Yeah. I bought 3 of their records just the other day.
Okay.
Stuff I've listened to, but I wanted the physical copy, and on Amazon it was $15-20 for all those records, and I get to support the band directly. So huge recommendations for that. Go to their website, click on the web shop, and they have all kinds of cool stuff on there. A pretty deep back catalog, especially with like live records and DVDs, and they've done a lot. So definitely worth checking out.
Very cool.
So that's it. High praise for the Theory of Molecular Inheritance.
Such
definitely
a great
pick
title.
up a copy, or go to iTunes and download it for $10, like we did. Totally worth it. Someday would love a physical copy to see if there's some fun tidbits and stuff in the booklet.
I bet the artwork's pretty sweet too.
It looks like it. You go to their website. There's a pretty like in-depth, enlarged picture of their cover, and all their artwork for the most part has been pretty impressive. So
yeah, it's very creative. It's kind of out of the
super
box.
proggy.
So, yeah, definitely.
Make no mistake. This is So yeah. All right, wrap this one up.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll see you next time on the Brothers of Metal. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.